Because my last paycheck was 92,000 rand.
Yeah.
And my first paycheck as a council was 23,000.
Oh, from 92. Oh, I dropped you.
Yeah. So I was answering the question that this is not about money. It's about you wanting to be of service to others. Look, I told you, I have an LLB degree. I've been working with various organizations because I believe that when you are leading in government, you cannot do anything alone. If you walk alone, you're not going to walk very, very far. You'll get tired because it's going to be too many things. You need other people to hold your hands. You need other people to show you a hindsight, and you need other people to show you other blind spots because you cannot know everything.
President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Zuma must go. Yeah, but let me tell you guys something.
Ladies and gentlemen, molweni sanibonani, dumelang, and welcome back to yet another episode of Utopia Unplugged podcast. And yes, I'm not going alone as usual. Unjabulo is behind the camera and just say hi to the peeps.
What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. This is your boy, Undax James Stakana, right here on your television screen. Welcome back to yet another exciting episode of Utopia Unplugged. And today we have a special guest by the name of Ntando Kuzwayo, Mr. Ntando Kuzwayo. Mr. Ntando Kuzwayo, how are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you, James. How are you?
I'm good as well. Mliwo, you can lead the podcast.
All right. Before we proceed the interview, we have our friend of the show, Ulwa. Please, Ulwa, say hi to the people.
Hey guys, hey people, Ulamkelo Damoi Lola. I hope you're gonna enjoy the podcast. Siyabonga.
Yebu.
Yes, and please, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure to subscribe and like. Mr. Ndando,
Wait.
how are you, sir?
Good.
Good. I don't know, dog. Sorry. So,
You can call me anything, it's election season.
Yes, everything is complete.
so I don't know. I thought of Zulu because Ndando, I'm
Well, I'm a South African, so any language also Kuluma, a South African, I would be able to understand. So don't worry. But my parents, I think they are Zulu. I'm not sure. I never confirmed that with them.
Sweet. So please, Nai camera, here's the mic. In case they are utopians, Bias Bozaba, who is this handsome guy?
Okay, igama lami nguNtando Kuzwayo Wakushiwo, ngikhansela lase 128. I was elected in 2016 as a councillor at this 128, which spans from the Masquerade area all the way to ICC. So it includes the larger part of the Durban CBD area, and DUT and RIA, of course, in the market. Those are the areas that I serve. I was re-elected in 2021 as ward councillor. I'll say by the grace of God, because I don't think that there's anything that we do that God is not blessed. If He didn't, then that thing would just not happen. Amongst the things that I've been involved in over the past 7 years, the first term I served fully on the infrastructure committee, portfolio committee in the municipality. And I led a program that was dealing with eradicating informal settlements within the eThekwini municipality. A program that is doing very, very well. But someone else, of course, now is leading it. I was then redeployed to the Economic Development Committee later in the term until the end of the term. And then at the beginning of this term, I started off at Economic Development, but then I was redeployed to Governance and Human Capital Committee, where I am the deputy chairperson of that portfolio committee right now. I myself was a student when I became politically active. It was 19 years ago. No, old. Don't be fooled by this baby face. Don't be fooled by that baby face. In 2005, I came to UNISA as a student to study law. And I did study law.
Yeah, when Jabulo was being born,
So I studied law. I have an LLB degree from the University of South Africa. And most of my friends are lawyers, but I chose a different route because I was a community servant from the word go. I was telling a friend of mine a few days ago that my first time ever being a party agent, I was 18 in 2004.
Yeah.
So that's 20 years ago. I was a party agent for the African National Congress, not even understanding what ANC was. Because at 18, you don't really understand politics.
Yeah.
But I think that grounding and background that I have made me to do the work that I've been doing since then up until now. So I've been politically active, served in this area for the larger part of my life. I've been serving the people of eThekwini until I was post-elected councillor, and I didn't stop where then. I'm continuing to serve them, and this is my office where I serve. Fortunately, we are sitting next to an award that was given by one of the organizations. Outstanding work. Being a councillor. I don't know if the person gets a certificate of being a councillor, but I've got an award, I've got a medal. I've been working with various organizations because I believe that when you are leading in government, you cannot do anything alone. If you walk alone, you're not going to walk very, very far. You'll get tired because it's going to be too many things. You need other people to hold your hands. You need other people to show you a hindsight, and you need other people to show you other blind spots because you cannot know everything. So I work with many organizations here, organizations that deal with people who are homeless, organizations that deal with street traders. I work with taxi owners. Almost all taxi ranks in eThekwini, in Devon, in the Devon CBD, are in my ward. So because I work very well with Santaco and other organizations that exist within the taxi industry and buses, of course.
What about, sorry to cut, but what about the youth? Are you also working with the youth?
Yeah, no, I was coming there. There are also various youth organizations that we are working with them. When you called me to arrange for this interview today, I was going to meet with one of the youth organizations here, which I'm supposed to be giving implement because they want to start a small garden. They want to feed the homeless, but using their own hands, which is a great initiative, you know. So I went and collected what they're going to need. It's here in my storeroom, and I'm supposed to give them so that they can start doing that work. But there are many other youth organizations, various churches around the city. I work with them. We do a lot of cleanup campaigns and all of those things. Let me just highlight this. This has helped a lot during times of trouble, if I can put it that way. Like the COVID times, yes, a lot of youth organizations that I work with were able to come out, and we gave out, I think we gave out more than 15,000 food parcels in this ward during the time. And let alone what was coming from the municipality, just talking about what was coming from the Muslim community, from other organizations that gave in and said, Councillor, because we know you work with young people and you've got young people here who are staying at student residences. There's a place just across this road here where there's young girls who are staying here, some working at call centers and all of those. Most of those places were closed during a COVID period. So I had to make them queue outside and get food because they had to have food, you know. But we have a good working relationship. What is particularly nice about the kind of relationship we have here in North 28 is that even other political parties, I'm an ANC person, but if you come to me and you say you are coming from EFF and you've got a concept that is going to move this community forward, I look beyond party lines because what is important is that the community must benefit from the idea that you're coming with, not the organization that you're coming with, because an organization alone cannot change a person's life, but it is the idea that that organization stands for.
True. And also you mentioned something very important about when you were 18. You said, politics, but you didn't understand anything about politics.
Yes.
Which like most of us can relate as a youth today.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you guys, but I feel like as politics, in fact, as elections, the upcoming elections, there's on like, I feel like turning point elections because abantu, they are fed up and also they are confused. Bafuni change, but they don't know who to vote for. I'm sure you understand.
Yeah.
So, as I was saying, like most of us, we are young, we don't know anything about politics. Né? So, what can you say to those youth who are confused but bafuni change and they feel like is the wazabo as Atena? What can you say to them?
Well, confusion will obviously emanate from a place of love. Where there is no love, there can't be confusion because there'll just be hatred. So you're not confused there. You just don't like. So people who say they're confused is because I personally believe they love the ANC and what it stands for, but there are certain aspects within the ANC that they are not happy with. That's where the confusion part comes from. So maybe we need then to deal with that confusion, but especially zoom into those elements, those particular elements that say, what is wrong with the ANC that will make you doubt your vote towards the ANC or any other party for that matter?
Okay.
But let me just take you a few steps back before we sitting in this very chair. When the ANC took over this country in 1994, it had to dismantle a lot of work that was built over 400 years to ensure that a minority of this country are cushioned. For instance, Abelungu, I don't know if you guys know this, but Abelungu were earning more than white people, or not more than black people, on the basis of color. So, umuntu mixa upende omhlophe nomuntu mixa upende omnyama, they will earn salaries that are not the same.
Okay.
But just simply because the other person is white and the other one is black. And in many sectors, even in government, a white teacher was earning more than a black teacher. A white lecturer was earning more than a black lecturer. So those systematic embedded differences caused abantu abamnyama ukuthi impilo yabo remain stagnant. That is why in many times you'd hear abantu abadala mhlawumbe ogogo benu bayakusho lokho ukuthi ngeyikhathi zethu imisebenzi ayixhaphakile. There are many jobs. You go anywhere and you just find a job. Now, in this day and age, the unemployment rate is too high. But were those quality paying jobs now? If they were quality paying jobs, then answer me this question. When I grew up, and I'm almost 40 years now, so it's not a long time ago that I'm referring to, it's about 20 odd years, or around this years. There were only 3 people who owned cars in the entire community. And if you miss a lift from one of these, or if you miss the bus, then you must catch a lift from one of these people if you're going to town. Otherwise, you're not going to make it to town. You'll have to go the next day.
Okay.
In this day and age, almost every house has a car. And that is not something that just happened by magic. It's work that happened over the past 30 years, which means people's lives have improved. Now, this is very, very significant for you to understand. I am not saying that a car is a huge achievement, but it makes your life very easy. Because if today there's someone who's sick here, you don't have to wait for an ambulance. You can just simply drive the person to the nearest hospital. Because there is a car available here at home. What should be done? By having that car, you have solved a healthcare problem. So a lot of work has happened where the ANC has improved people's lives. Because when the ANC took over in 1995, it introduced the Labour Relations Act, and then in 1998 it introduced there's a law that is called Affirmative Action, and also Employment Equity Act, which is a very, very critical law, because there's a difference between equality and equity. Equality is to say we are all getting equal, but equity is saying because you are low, we are now raising you to a level where we are equal to the others. Okay, see, that's what this law was basically about. It was to bring black people who were working to a level which is equal to the white to their white counterparts. Lento-ke isolve i-problem yokuthi abantu abamnyama bekwazi ukuba ne-access to ama-bank. That is why when we grew up, omkhulu bethu babakha, the biggest room wayengaya kumkhulu oku-2 noma oku-3 room. But uma ufika manje emakhaya abantu bakha ama-mansion, bakho 10 room, bakhe ama-double story, nani. That is not magic. That is the work of the ANC over the past 30 years, because it has improved impilo zabantu so significantly that people have access to money. They can go and lend money from the bank and use that money to improve impilo zabo, or they earning enough to be able to save and bese leyo mali ikwazi ukuthi ingene ekshintsheni impilo zabo.
I think
and all of those things.
I think Velevele, I think a lot of people forgot we are where we are because of the ANC Velevele. Because I think it did have an impact, the ANC, to be where we are Velevele. And I think that's why South Africa, like, we're one of the best countries in Africa, to be honest.
I'll argue say in the world, because I've traveled about 17 countries in the world, in different continents. And there is just no place like South Africa.
Yeah, and I'm thinking.
We're coming from a background in Japs where we were segregated by race. My grandfather used to tell me a story. Because you guys do this podcast, I want you to, after my elections, start a tour around and come to some museum. Got a museum, well, actually, a museum across the workshop. That museum was used to dehumanize black people. If you are coming from the rural areas to work here or to look for work here in Devon, you'll be taken to that museum, you'll be stripped naked, and they will check you for diseases.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. You get a lot of strip around naked. Yeah. They will take your penis and they will open it like this because they want to check everything you can imagine. It was so dehumanizing, and it was only done to black people. And they will dip you at deep they will dip you there. A sort of a cleansing of some sort, so they're washing you off. Maybe they thought we were demonic, I don't know. But I'm not saying for that we must then hate white people.
Yeah.
They know what they
Things also pass.
But those things happened, So when we took government, we had those things to deal with, but we didn't want to keep this separation alive. We wanted to unite a community, to create social cohesion, to create a situation where you can walk through a South Beach. Black people were not even allowed to go to the beach and swim. A simple thing that you take for granted today. Because now we just walk to the beach anytime we want. If we were to be seen at 6 p.m. at beach, you will be shamboked by police.
Yeah.
They will beat you with a shambok. Ufuna life so well.
Can I ask a question as well? You said you joined the ANC at 18, eh?
At 19.
At 19.
Yes, at 18 I was just a volunteer for the ANC back at home during the election in 2004.
Okay. So I'm thinking with you at 19, I'm 20 and I'm all over the place and all that. So at 19, what made you think to join a political party? Because at 19, a lot of people are not there.
Yeah. Well, this is how it happened with me. Firstly, when I come from abject poverty, I come from the poorest of the poor. If you were to see that before and after of where I come from, then you know what poverty is. That's why I never look down on anyone who's poor, because I know what it means to sleep without food. At home, we didn't have money to send me to varsity. They did not have money. And at that time, access to NSFAS was a bit difficult because we were still trying to fine-tune how this new NSFAS was supposed to work. Remember, when we took over, it was TEFSA, and then in 1999 it was changed to NSFAS, which is what you guys are now getting today. So there were still teething issues of that new system or that scheme that government was introducing. And schools in the rural areas don't know anything about those because they are not exposed, and our municipality there just didn't do any of those things, unlike this municipality here, which goes actively to schools around the townships and tells them about the opportunities and say and all of those things. So I didn't even apply because I knew I didn't have money. My father was driving a taxi, my mother was working as a maid, so there's no way they could have afforded to send me to university. You see, so I was just hopeless. I was sitting at home, and then one day a friend of mine's mother came and said, to my mom, you know what, I'm taking my son to Durban to look for a school. Let's go with your son as well. We'll see what would happen. So we went to Howard College first. They said there's no space. We didn't apply. There's no spaces. That's how
That
I
was
ended up
19?
in 2004.
2004.
That's how I ended up going to UNISA, because that time UNISA was a walk-in. You just walk in there, they will just take you. They had no limit.
Yeah.
They take as many people as they come.
Yeah.
So we went to UNISA, same day I got registered. That lady, may God bless her soul, paid for my registration.
Yo.
She took-
And how much was the
I
registration?
think it was
At that
3,800 rand.
Ha.
Yeah.
Okay, I was registered in LLB and it was 10 modules for that particular year. So each module was 380, so it was
It's so cheap.
Yo.
No, it wasn't cheap, relatively speaking. It was almost like,
Because of our skin color and stuff, we wouldn't say it was cheap.
yeah, of course. Yeah, so we 3,800 was a lot of money back then. She paid for me. And then over the couple of weeks going Escole, I then met comrades from SASCO who were recruiting students. That's how I became political active. I joined SASCO and I joined YCL. Then from then my political life started.
So-
and then outside of school I joined MCU here in the branch.
If I can ask, like, how are your parents with your decision of becoming a politician? Did they support that thing, or
No.
hayi ngosesikoleni ukuthi yofundela ilaw wena usuya kwipolitiki okokuqala kunezinto ezikanje nakanje nakanje ubungozi babo yabo. And if you still building on, obvious asisuke singaboni the top part yabo, so sabona ubungozi bayo and the bottom part of it. So what is the take?
And that's a very important question, especially because at the time where I joined politics, my political killings here were very rife. So my parents were very unhappy that I decided to go in politics. Now, not that they had any problem with the ANC per se, but just politics. They would have rather I don't join anything. I can vote or support whatever I support, but to be active is something else. Because a lot of people were dying, people were being killed in front of their families, you know, and some would just disappear and all of those things. So babengafuni nje ukuthi ngibe kule nto yepolitiki. Wesike sebezwa ukuthi ngizoba yikhansela. Yabona-ke
Yeah. Another level, yeah.
kwaselibamba ngombela nje ifuna belibeke lapha emhlalile
But at least you're getting something, getting some money.
But compared to life, you know,
Yeah,
you
you-
know
Okay,
how work is, like-
let's go back to that money. Before I became a counselor here, I was working. I've worked in different companies because at times NSFAS would fund me, at times it won't fund me, and then I'll end up having gaps. Then I'll have to go and look for work and self-fund. So during those times, I worked in different companies. But the last company that I worked in, which was in healthcare, was paying very well. So when my parents heard that I wanted to be when the community decided that they wanted me to be counselor, and the ANC has approved that I must become counselor, they asked me this question: is this worth it? Considering that you may lose your life. And I said, well, when I joined the ANC, at that age when I joined it, there were a number of fundamental things that I was taught. Firstly was that we're not joining ANC for self-gain. We're joining the revolution here because we want to change South Africa to be a better place. The ANC has a guiding principle or a document which is called the National Democratic Revolution. This is what any ANC member who joins the ANC comes into. So this is a moving bus that is going towards what we envisage as a national democratic society. Now, this is for your benefit again. A national democratic society is a society that is non-racist, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous. So if you are saying it's non-racist, it means all races are embraced in this society. There is no race that is better than the other. It's non-sexist. You can be whatever sex you want, you can be whatever gender you like. We're not going to be discriminatory towards you. And then when we say democratic, there are many principles of democracy that in fact, all principles of democracy are important, but the key that I'd mention here, for instance, making sure that people have access to education. Because people, when they're educated, are able to make informed decisions. People have to have access to healthcare. People have to have access to this document. The Constitution captures it very, very well, because it has all these rights in chapter 2 of it, where it says this is the package that we as South Africans say a South African should have as a gift of some sort, if I can put it like that. But it's a mixed bag of rights that gives you access to various things. So, in a democratic society, that is protected by the Constitution. So no one can then take it away from you. Even if the ANC today will lose power, because a lot of people say ANC will go away, it's fine, but the democracy will remain. And the democracy will make sure that all of these things must be done. It's just that people who are there will then tweak it here and there, make it more difficult to access because of how they think. So the last pillar is that it's a prosperous society. Now, a prosperous society is a society where we don't lack, where you don't have to be burdened by debt and you are blacklisted because you owe so many people. You can't pay for your laptop, you can't pay for your car, you can't pay for your house. It's a society where people have access to money, have access to opportunities, and access to jobs, and people just decide where they want to live, where they want to play, where they want to play, where they want to enjoy their life, So that's the kind of society that the ANC wants to create. So in us going there, we are traveling in this road that is called the National Democratic Revolution. So when you join that, it's not for self-gain. It's for you to be of service to others in ensuring that there's going to be a better life for all. Mm-hmm. It's not a society that can be created in 30 years, especially if you are doing the work of more than 400 years. It's impossible. But it's something that reasonable strides can be taken towards in that 30 years. And I think as the ANC, we have done that. So my parents then asked me, Uti, so how much are they going to pay you? When I told them, they laughed at me. And my father said, you are a fool. So he told me, but I want to know you're a fool. Because my last paycheck was 92,000 rand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my first paycheck as a councillor was 23,000.
Oh, from 92. Oh, I dropped you.
Yeah. So I was under the question that this is not about money. It's about you wanting to be of service to others. Look, I told you, I have an LLB degree. I did my PhD. I wrote my board exams, passed everything. So all my colleagues are lawyers. They have their own firms. I could have very well decided that I also want to be a lawyer. Mm-hmm. But I decided I want to be of service to the community of what we need. I also want to contribute to making this country a better place.
So how do you feel about corruption? Because mostly we are scared as a youth because we feel like ANC. I'm just going to be frank.
Yeah.
We feel like ANC like corrupt, né?
Yeah.
You spoke about it's not about self-benefit, né?
Yes.
But we feel like by introduce bills like NHI or NSFAS, like they're benefiting more than abantu benefit. I don't know if maybe but that's our concern.
Yeah. Well, that's a very important question to ask. Firstly, we must understand this about corruption. When we at law school, we were taught that the corruption can never be done by one person.
True.
There's a corruptor and a corruptee. And let me just tell you how bad this issue of corruption is in society. When you want to enter a club and you know that you don't have the money to buy the ticket, you take 50 rand from your pocket and you give me an ounce. That is corruption.
Sure.
It's just that no one is going to catch you and say you're under arrest for corruption. Or the house are not going to go look for you. You see, when a police officer stops you and you have been drinking and he says, blow into this, we want to see if you have been drinking, and you say,
What do you call it?
That is corruption.
Sure.
When you go to Home Affairs and you want to skip a queue and you pay someone to skip a queue, that is corruption. So corruption is something that is endemic to society. So I'm not saying I'm trying to do it, but it's not an ANC problem. It's a societal problem. We as a society need to start saying no, not in my name. A few days ago, someone said or sent me a message and said, "Hey, there are rumors that you are selling jobs in the municipality." But I laughed at them because I know the kind of character that you are. You see? You understand the last part.
The character.
I understand the kind of character that you are. That's what needs to happen. We need to create character in the community where we don't have to worry about such things happening, because we know if we have the right characters in the community who are able to take the baton and give it to the next person, and the ship will keep moving. Of course, there are elements of people who then get greedy over time, and then they will want to sway things a particular way. But at a local government space, it's very difficult to do corruption.
Editors angispire audit ukuthi kwenzakalani.
No, besides that, we don't even see money at local government level. As we go on demand.
Just to close the matter, in a scale of 10, how much can you rate corruption in the ANC?
Not in the ANC, in South Africa. South Africa has a lot of corrupt people. Whether they are in politics or not, there are a lot of people who are corrupt. But it's also in the private sector. The private sector is far worse. It's just that because we are running a transparent government, so then you're not going to see or hear about these things. You only get to see them, you only get to see or hear about them from us, because we have created systems we have created mechanisms in the system that are able to expose such corruption. Because had we not created those systems, then we wouldn't know that corruption is happening. So we created systems to ensure that if a person is trying to do any corrupt activity, then they get exposed and they'll be prosecuted.
All right.
But I'm saying don't worry yourself about corruption. Of course, corruption derails the revolution, but we have mechanisms in place and we are going to deal with them. I was reading the 2017 resolutions of the ANC conference, and there are a number of those resolutions that are being implemented this very day. For instance, we said we want to revitalize the National Prosecuting Authority and make sure that it's independent, so that we know that prosecuting people who are doing wrong is not based on who must be prosecuted, but it's based on who did wrong, and that person will be chased after and then be dealt with by that.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a rule of law and no one is above the law, even the people who govern us.
Yes, of course. There is no one above the law. Only God is above the law.
Yes.
Indeed, amen.
I don't know how much are you into internet and stuff.
Yeah.
But sometime last week, DJ Zingle posted something about youth
the
being unemployable. So, in the end, so she wanted to hire abantu for the
I think
business.
For a business and all that. Okay. Then after that, I think they went on interviews or something like that. She
tweeted something.
Yeah, then after that she tweeted Uti, she was trying to get workers and all that. She was like, the youth is unemployable, and then the youth they started.
Because it's a very sensitive topic.
Because also there are a lot of graduates So now for someone to just come out no, the youth of South Africa is unemployable. What are your feelings about that?
There is a very high rate of youth unemployment in South Africa generally. We are amongst the highest countries with higher unemployment of young people. Of course, those stats are to a certain degree questionable because it is the countries that submit them voluntarily. So many countries will want to submit misinformation because they want to shine, but that doesn't solve the problem. What the ANC government did when it took over, it said, because Section 29 of the Constitution says there must be free education. So it said people must have access to education at least up to a tertiary level. And then it said there is also going to be a problem of a skills gap because the kind of education that we are offering people needs to be blended. Remember, we had universities and technicons back then, and colleges of education to a certain degree here and there. But we were not creating skills that were relevant to the kind of future that we were heading towards. So that's when we introduced TVET colleges to say some people must just go and learn skills. Yes, and then we also revolutionized universities like yours, DUT and MUT and the like, TUT and all the T's that are there, the University of Technology. To say you're now not just going to be getting the knowledge, but you'll also be getting the experience. So that when you go out looking for work, then you are employable. So if someone says that Yugoslavia is not employable, I don't understand where that may be coming from. I think
maybe it was wrong diction. Maybe she used the wrong diction.
Maybe, yeah.
No, I think though we were talking about the character. I think maybe they're lazy or like they can't work.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they need experience. I think experience was the problem actually.
Yeah. But she experience is experience because experience is everything. So umuntu yamnikeza ithuba ayifundekele khona. Yabo? Ingakho thina la eThekwini nje sathi decision ukuthi for all entry level jobs there is going to be zero experience. You don't want any experience. We just want you to qualify for the position. Uma uthi ufuna matric, no matric, uzongena emsebenzini uhambe wasebenza. With experience uyishola ngendlela. So even the provincial government has taken the same position. Even nationally, President Ramaphosa, in his State of the Nation address this year, he said the same thing. He said all entry-level government jobs, there is going to be zero. So they are scrapping experience. And that was a gain from the ANC because NCUP was pushing that, saying young people are sitting at home with degrees. Because that also is an ANC gain. ANC has increased literacy rates, increased number of graduates. But now these graduates, I say to like education, they are the well. But especially is now money makai. So let us push the barriers. Because there was more opportunities. There was going to be paid.
Okay. Now, sir, just a quick one. Let's say Nyawina gay 29.
So wait.
Yeah, so let's say Nyawina. Then what are your plans for the youth? Just a quick one before we finish.
Sure, I know, I'll take just a minute. She's always and it is so winners because ANC has done a lot of work to transform employers abantu South Africa. Simakele imibhaqo sakhe izindlu sabanika ama-social packages, sakhe iy'bhedlela amaklinikhi nani ney'kole. Mina mangifunda esikoleni esasingena amawindi esingena iy'cabha. Kodwa uma ungahamba manje, I'm proud ukuthi iy'ngane zethu zifunda lesa sikole lesiya because of the level that school is in now that this government is taken over. So kuningi sekushintshile Washington employers we need to focus on ensuring ukuthi abantu abasha bala 128k in particular nabalapha eThekwini baba nama-skills that are relevant for the future. For instance, we have ulwandle la thina and ulwandle is rich. It's a mine gold. It's a gold mine. Ulwandle. It's a gold mine. And i-gold mine nje abantu abadla kuyona akusiwona ngisho abala ama-companies angaphesheya. So we need to take those skills and transform and transfer them to abantu abala eSouth Africa. Ama-companies eza la ezokwenza ibhizinisi nehaba lela eThekwini. Awathi enza lo business leyo kodwa akube ne-proviso ukuthi you will only do business with this harbor by transferring skills kubantu bala. So that when you leave and you go back to Australia, you go back to Austria or Japan or wherever you come from, skills isele ngaphakathi, and we are then able to transfer the skill amongst ourselves.
Alright. So I want us to play a game now.
Sure.
Just before Smile, just
it's not soccer, my knee is bad.
No, it's called One Must Go,
Okay.
Political edition. So I'm going to name our politicians then uzochaza about which one must go, which one must remain.
Okay.
Yabo. So we're gonna start with Nelson Mandela and Robert Sobukwe. Which one must go?
Hey, yo.
Hey.
That's a hard one.
No. It's a hard one. But Sobukwe must go. I'm an anti person, so I believe in the National Democratic Revolution, as I had said. Sobukwe, when my ideas are pan-Africanistic, kakhulu to a degree ukuthi abantu abamhlophe mhlawumbe nababasekho la. So we're not there.
Okay. Then this one is going to be tough because we were server term yakhe ne. President Jacob Zuma and President Cyril Ramaphosa. Which one must go?
Zuma must go. But let me tell you guys something. Mina Zuma ngesikhathi say as Khan nayo into yokuqoshwa kwakhe, I was one of the people who were at the forefront fighting for him. But I believe that his decision on leaving the ANC was wrong. So that's why I'll go.
Nah. Then Cyril Ramaphosa, Julius Malema and Mr. Fikile Mbalula.
Julius must go.
Oh, can I ask the last question, Blue?
Sure.
Yeah, I asked this question last time in the EFF. I was like, is there a possibility ukuthi like ama party angahlangana, maybe like the EFF and the ANC to be one thing?
No, there isn't. Yeah, at the moment. I think ama ideas ethu khona la hamba amahlangane khona kodwa khona labona khona ukuthi we are too far apart from each other. So trying to pull us together will cause a lot of confusion. You see, one mistake that South Africans must never do is to think that if they vote out ANC, they're going to get something better. I fear they'll get something far worse, and I'm not instilling fear in voters, but I'm being realistic. You see, you at least now have one political party that you can point to if there's anything wrong. But create a situation now where you have 6 or 7 parties that are in government, and every other month they're changing presidents and electing a new one, because that's what happens in coalition governments. For 5 years, you're I don't think that is the kind of country that we are looking into. We need one party that's just going to clearly win the elections, and we know who to hold accountable and who to swear to, because once this situation too, but you can't do that if there is various, because everyone's going to be saying, what am I doing leave, what am I doing jabs, what am I doing
Against the accountability.
There can't be accountability because there's just too many people who are having their hands on what should be happening. And all of them have an idea of what things should be, how things should be done, and those ideas clash.
Also, the ideas very clash at any time.
Yes, that's why you have different manifestos.
At some point.
If we have a clash, now one would find a manifesto yakhe njengoba i-ANC shida wena nathi sokwenza kanje. But they don't do that. They come with something that is completely different. For instance, MK Party is now saying thina sifuna ukuthi izwe liranwe ingane ekhulele sithathe ngaze soyivalela kuphi yabona weird stuff. No, we can't.
Oh yeah, and is there a possibility within NSFAS about 5,000? I heard EFF get data from the 25,000.
Yeah,
but you know, Amiti, it's silly season. When it's silly season, people make empty promises. It's like Mushalendo, which are busy, but no way. Because if you are saying that, how have you quantified the goods of your 5,000 rand? Because you have to take that and turn it by number of NSFAS beneficiaries and then say, what fiscus, le mali izoqhamuka kulama streams lawo of income. Remember, imali eningi government iqhamuka tax. So, uma ungawazi to increase the tax base, then how are you going to increase imali oyikhiphayo? Because preferably iqhamuke somewhere le mali le. You can't be relying on these coffers here, which are limited, but saying we are going to increase beneficiation from the coffers. That sort of becomes impossible. So a lot of these political parties are given manifestos which are just lies.
I don't know if you have seen the adverts. I think it's Sisi Manje where the DA was burning our national flag. What's your take on that?
That is treason. That was the worst thing that could ever happen. The flag of South Africa is the most important symbol we have as South Africans. It's the most uniting symbol we have. Kahle kahle njena sinabantu bamaZulu sibiza ngokuthi intenxa iflag ithina because la ubona khona iflag la ngisho athi uphesheya ubona iflag of South Africa ubuyela ithemba ukuthi awu here's home. If we are burning a flag, it's like we are burning our homes. Because we are burning our hope, we are burning our democracy, we are burning our diversity, we are burning our unity, we are burning the hard work of all the people who died for this freedom.
Now, Mr. Dani, siyabulela kakhulu for the wise words and insight, information, siyabulela kakhulu. And all the best for elections. No, us as Utopia Unplugged Podcast, we are out of here. Shut up.
Shab.
Easy.